What happens when Hitler's most feared warriors, the 1st SS Panzer Division, crash head-on into Patton's unstoppable Third Army in the frozen forests of Belgium? December 1944, the Battle of the Bulge, Germany's last desperate push to turn the tide of the war. But this isn't just about tanks and bullets. Why did the 1st SS, once Hitler's bodyguards, fail to break through? And how did Patton pull off a move so bold it stunned even Eisenhower? Keep watching to find out how Patton's elite crushed the Nazi dream from within in today's episode of Light's History. In December 1944, Adolf Hitler launched a bold offensive called Wacht am Rhein, German for Watch on the Rhine. His goal was to split the Allied forces by driving through the Ardennes forest, crossing the Meuse River, and capturing the vital port city of Antwerp. This move aimed to disrupt Allied supply lines and force a negotiated peace on the Western Front. The 1st SS Panzer Division, known as Leibstandarte Adolf Hitler, was chosen to spearhead this attack. The elite unit, originally formed as Hitler's personal bodyguard, had evolved into a formidable armored division. By late 1944, it was made up of around 20,000 men and was equipped with around 100 tanks, including Panther and Tiger models. The Ardennes region was considered a quiet sector, held by a mix of battle-weary and inexperienced American troops. The Germans exploited this by launching a surprise attack on December 16, 1944, under the cover of dense fog and snow, which grounded Allied air support. The offensive spanned a 75-mile front, catching the Allies off guard and creating a bulge in their lines. But what started out as success eventually turned into a massive failure that the Germans never recovered from. But all throughout, Hitler was convinced that the 1st SS Panzer Division would win because it never failed before. Before we move on to the next section, please don't forget to subscribe if you liked the video so far. The 1st SS Panzer Division began as Adolf Hitler's personal bodyguard unit and grew into one of Nazi Germany's most infamous and elite military formations. Formed in 1933, shortly after Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany, the unit began as the Leibstandarte Adolf Hitler, a small group of SS men whose job was to protect Hitler. Leibstandarte literally means bodyguard regiment. At first, it was mostly ceremonial and served as Hitler's personal security detail in Berlin. By the late 1930s, the unit had grown in size and was trained for combat. It took part in the Anschluss of Austria and the occupation of Czechoslovakia. When World War II broke out in September 1939, it fought in the invasion of Poland and quickly earned a reputation for both military skill and brutality. In 1941, it became a full motorized infantry regiment, and by 1943, it had grown into a full panzer division, renamed the 1st SS Panzer Division. It was part of the Waffen-SS, the armed wing of the SS, which was separate from the regular German army, Wehrmacht, and directly loyal to Hitler. The division fought on many fronts: Poland, France, the Soviet Union, Italy, and most famously in Normandy and the Ardennes during 1944. Its soldiers were known for their toughness, but also for committing multiple war crimes, like the massacre of British POWs at Wormhout in 1940, or the Babi Yar massacre in Ukraine. In the early days of the Battle of the Bulge, the 1st SS Panzer Division, led by Colonel Joachim Peiper, advanced rapidly through the Ardennes. On December 17, 1944, near Malmedy, Belgium, Peiper's troops captured and then executed 84 American prisoners of war from the 285th Field Artillery Observation Battalion. This atrocity, known as the Malmedy Massacre, became one of the most infamous war crimes committed by German forces during World War II. Despite initial gains, the German advance soon faced significant challenges. The narrow, snow-covered roads of the Ardennes created severe bottlenecks, hindering the movement of German armored units. Fuel shortages further compounded these issues. Peiper's units were forced to detour in search of fuel depots, delaying their progress. The rugged terrain of the Ardennes, characterized by dense forests and steep hills, was ill-suited for mechanized warfare. German tanks and vehicles struggled to navigate the limited roadways, making them vulnerable to ambushes and delaying their advance. Additionally, the poor coordination among German units led to confusion and further slowed their momentum. As the German offensive stalled, Allied resistance intensified. American forces, initially caught off guard, regrouped and mounted effective defenses at key locations such as Bastogne and Elsenborn Ridge. These strongholds proved critical in halting the German advance and buying time for reinforcements to arrive. By late December, the combination of logistical challenges, difficult terrain, and stiffening Allied resistance had effectively neutralized the initial successes of the 1st SS Panzer Division. The German offensive, once poised for a breakthrough, was now bogged down, marking a turning point in the Battle of the Bulge. In December 1944, as the German offensive threatened to split Allied forces, General George S. Patton executed a remarkable maneuver. He redirected his Third Army, comprising approximately 200,000 men and 200 tanks, a full 90 degrees northward to relieve the besieged town of Bastogne. This pivot, initiated on December 19th, was a testament to Patton's strategic foresight and the mobility of his forces. The operation faced significant challenges. The Ardennes region was engulfed in one of the harshest winters in decades, with temperatures often below freezing and roads covered in snow and ice. These conditions not only impeded movement, but also posed risks of frostbite and equipment failure. Despite these obstacles, Patton's troops advanced rapidly, covering over 100 miles in just a few days. Logistical coordination was crucial. Supplies had to be rerouted, and communication lines established to support the swift movement. Patton's staff worked tirelessly to ensure that fuel, ammunition, and food reached the advancing units, often through treacherous conditions. On December 26th, elements of the 4th Armored Division broke through German lines and reached Bastogne, providing much-needed relief to the 101st Airborne Division and other units that had been encircled for days. This action not only lifted the siege, but also marked a turning point in the Battle of the Bulge, demonstrating the resilience and adaptability of Allied forces under Patton's command. In late December 1944, the town of Bastogne in Belgium became a focal point of the Battle of the Bulge. The 101st Airborne Division, along with elements of the 10th Armored Division, found themselves encircled by German forces, including the 1st SS Panzer Division. Despite being outnumbered and facing harsh winter conditions, the American troops held their ground. The Germans, aiming to capture Bastogne due to its strategic road network, demanded the Americans surrender on December 22nd. Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe famously replied with a single word: "Nuts." This defiant response boosted Allied morale and became a symbol of American resilience. The siege continued until December 26th, when elements of General George Patton's Third Army broke through the German lines and relieved the defenders. This action not only lifted the siege, but also marked a turning point in the battle, halting the German advance and contributing to the eventual Allied victory in the Ardennes. The defense of Bastogne exemplified the determination and courage of the Allied forces. Despite being surrounded, outgunned, and facing severe winter conditions, the American troops' steadfastness played a crucial role in thwarting the German offensive. Want to understand the world better? Start with history and subscribe to our channel. By early January 1945, the German offensive in the Ardennes, Hitler's last major push in the West, had faltered. The 1st SS Panzer Division, once a formidable force, was severely depleted. Their advance had been hampered by fierce Allied resistance, logistical challenges, and the harsh winter terrain. The division's losses were so significant that they could no longer operate effectively as a cohesive unit. General George S. Patton's Third Army played a pivotal role in countering the German offensive. Demonstrating remarkable mobility and coordination, Patton redirected his forces northward to relieve the besieged town of Bastogne. This maneuver, executed under severe winter conditions, showcased the adaptability and determination of the Allied forces. The failure of the Ardennes offensive had profound implications for Nazi Germany. The loss of experienced troops and critical equipment weakened the German military's capacity to defend against subsequent Allied advances. Moreover, The psychological impact on the German leadership was significant. The realization that their last major offensive had failed eroded morale and exposed the diminishing strategic options available to them. The Battle of the Bulge concluded in January 1945 with an Allied victory. The Germans suffered approximately 120,000 casualties, including killed, wounded, and missing soldiers. These losses were irreplaceable, further accelerating the decline of Nazi Germany. The Allies, despite their own significant casualties, emerged stronger and more unified, setting the stage for the final push into Germany and the eventual end of the war in Europe. Do you think the war in Europe would have lasted longer if Patton hadn't made that daring turn to Bastogne? Or was Hitler's fate already sealed no matter what? Let us know in the comments below. Here's another video history buffs enjoyed watching. Bye for now.